It's the dumbest space flight I've ever heard of. So all of you know what happened on 14th April 2025. And if you don't, here's a quick recap. Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' rocket company, sent an all-female group up to space in a phallic-shaped vessel. They got to orbit, giggled like teenage schoolgirls as it blasted through the stratosphere, and when they finally got there, they had the opportunity to look out the window, take photos for the gram. One of them even held a daisy flower as it reminded her of her daughter. They gazed at the moon, and after a few minutes in orbit, the vessel they were in returned back down to Earth in a controlled, fully automated descent. They were proud to call themselves astronauts. I keep hearing that this was the first female crew in space, but I think you'll find that the first all-female crew of astronauts was launched by the Soviet Union back in 1963. But that crew, which was led by a highly trained flight engineer and a decorated cosmonaut, didn't have a fragrance or a new album to promote, so I guess it didn't make the record books. And so, the latest Blue Origin debacle is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and they've been met with worldwide condemnation and public humiliation, rightly so, and for one simple reason: they called themselves astronauts. So let's talk about the word astronaut. When I hear astronaut, I think of rigorous training, technical expertise, and a mind sharpened by physics, engineering, and years of application. I think of people like Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and yes, I think of real female astronauts too. Pioneers who earned that title not because of how they looked floating in zero gravity, but because of what they knew, what they built, and what they endured. Now, apparently, the new requirement to be called an astronaut is just sitting in a chair, floating for 3 minutes, giggling around like you're on weed, and smiling for Instagram. Because that, in essence, is what the Blue Origin all-female space trip was. A glorified amusement park ride branded as a monumental leap forward for womankind. But let's be honest, it was more marketing gimmick than milestone. Perhaps the only milestone from this whole fiasco was understanding how Botox reacts under zero gravity. And one more thing, let's be crystal clear. This isn't about gender. This is about substance versus spectacle. If you're new here, my name's Imran and welcome to my channel Emerging. If you like what you see, do hit the like button, consider subscribing to my channel and share it with your friends. I would truly appreciate that. Okay, so I fully support women in space, in science, in positions of leadership. But this mission, this wasn't a scientific breakthrough. It was a corporate photo op, which means all optics but no orbit. So here's the problem with syntax. Calling these passengers astronauts is like calling someone a chef because they've reheated yesterday's leftovers, or calling yourself a doctor because you've watched 4 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. It's not just inaccurate, it's downright disrespectful. Disrespectful to the men and women, especially women, who actually blazed the trail in spaceflight through brilliance, education, and relentless discipline. Because I do admire female astronauts, and here's some of the few women who truly contributed to the advancement of our understanding of space. I admire these women because they earned their way into that seat through their accomplishments. Let's remember Dr. Sally Ride, America's first woman in space. She was a physicist with a PhD from Stanford. She operated the shuttle's robotic arm to deploy satellites. This is a complex technical operation requiring pinpoint control and precision, as well as a deep understanding of orbital mechanics. Do you think Gail King would know how to do that? Then there's Dr. Mae Jemison, the first black woman in space, a medical doctor, chemical engineer. She flew aboard Endeavour in 1992, where she conducted bone cell research in microgravity, helping us understand how human tissue and biology change in space. something that has direct implications for long-duration missions and even for healthcare on Earth. Do you think Katy Perry could hold a candle next to the depth of her medical brilliance? Then there's Peggy Whitson. Now that's an astronaut. Over 665 days in space, Whitson led over 200 experiments on the International Space Station. She studied the effects of space on human physiology, bone loss, muscle atrophy, and immune function, all critical data we simply cannot replicate on Earth. She also tested new drug delivery methods and material science under microgravity, the kind of cutting-edge work that helps fuel medical and technological breakthroughs here on Earth. Do you think Lauren Sanchez even understands an iota of what Peggy Whitson does? These real women astronauts didn't just show up, they delivered. They're the ones who truly inspire others, men and women, to follow in their footsteps. They used their time in space to generate real scientific return on investment. Because let's be honest, every single minute in space costs millions of dollars. If you're going to be up there, you better be working, not working the camera. You better be coming back with something useful for the rest of us because you were the chosen ones. Real women astronauts use every precious minute in space to deepen our appreciation of science and to unravel the mysteries and complexities of the universe so that every $1 million worth of investment spent while they're in space has intellectual returns for the rest of humanity. NASA doesn't send astronauts into orbit for vibes or for kicks. They send them to space to expand the frontiers of human knowledge. And yet, here we are, watching passengers take a 3-minute float, then descend to Earth and saying things like, "Wow, I saw the moon and it changed me." Great, but did it change science? Because with all due respect to whoever floated next to Katy Perry who's holding a flower, this isn't Coachella in a tin, girl. When we hand out the title astronaut to the highest bidder, we are cheapening the legacy of those who went to space and made it count. And here's the danger. When young girls see this, are they inspired to become scientists, engineers, or are they being told that what matters is having rich friends or marrying rich or being photogenic in orbit? That's not space exploration. That's space exploitation for likes. And it sends the wrong message that you don't need to study orbital mechanics or master flight systems. You just need a marketing team and the right connections in life and you're set to go. Real progress isn't built on photo ops. It's built on education, training, and measurable contribution. You want more women in space? Fund them, train them, mentor them in physics, maths, aerospace. Support the girls who want to build the spacecraft, not just to ride in them. Celebrate the ones who run simulations, who solve equations, who write flight software, not just the ones who float for 3 minutes and say, "I found that so empowering." Because it's not empowering to lower the bar. It's empowering to raise the bar and exceed it. Look, I'm all for commercial spaceflight. It's exciting. It democratizes access. That's great. But let's not confuse tourists for trailblazers. The women of Blue Origin were passengers. If you want to call yourself space tourists and stop it there, that's fine. I have no problems with that. Some people have more means in life, and that's just the way it is. But if you want to call yourselves astronauts and you claim you were part of something historic, that's the worst marketing jargon I've ever heard. They didn't conduct any science. They didn't contribute to the expansion of the human knowledge. They didn't even know how to operate the craft they were in. As I said earlier, probably the only scientific outcome from this was the inadvertent observation of how Botox reacts under zero gravity. And if we start calling that the new standard for being an astronaut, well, then we owe a huge apology to every female astronaut who ever ran a complex scientific experiment, who calculated a burn, or who spent 2 hours in a pressurized suit risking their lives for the sake of human advancement. You want to be called an astronaut? Earn it. Because space isn't just a backdrop for an ego trip. And for the people who go there to push us forward, not to pose for the camera, they deserve to have their legacy preserved. And for failing to live up to the real definition of the word astronaut, and for being nothing more than a multi-million-dollar carnival ride, the latest fiasco by Blue Origin is the dumbest space flight ever. It's one small step backwards for humanity, one giant leap forwards for narcissism and self-importance. If you've come all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. I'm Imran. I'm in the same boat as you, and I hope to see you again very soon.